Right, so welcome to the third episode in our series of looking at the key areas that we have to focus on to increase our chances of passing the examination. In episode 1, we look at financial reporting and corporate reporting. Episode 2, we looked at management accounting. And in the third episode, we are looking at public sector accounting and finance. So if you are going into the exam or preparing for the public sector accounting and finance examination, then certainly this is a video you don't want to miss. Now, in case you missed the management accounting and the financial reporting, you can check the podcast playlist and you'll be able to watch these videos as well so you can position yourself to pass the examination. Remember to subscribe to the channel. If you have not subscribed to the channel, click the bell notification icon and make sure you like and share the video. Let's help to reach as many students as possible preparing for the examination so that we can all pass our exam. Now, public sector accounting and finance, in my opinion, is one of the papers that can easily be passed because of the way it is structured generally at the end of the day. Now, so in this discussion, as we do in the series, I'm going to first share with you the overview of the syllabus and then the structure of the examination in much detail. So that after that, we will then go to the chief examiner's reports to look at the concerns that the chief examiner has raised in relation to why many students fail the public sector examination. Then I'm going to be adding my spin on it, on what exactly you have to do to position yourself to pass the exam. But like I said, this is a really easy paper that can be passed if you understand the structure of the examination, understand the requirements of the questions, and most importantly, follow the guidelines that are going to be given in the next few minutes on the podcast today. Are you excited about that? Smash the like button and let's get some engagement on this video. Let me bring up my screen and let's go. So when it comes to the public sector accounting and finance examination, it is important you understand each aspect of the question from question 1 to question 5, what exactly the examiner is likely to be asking students. So I want to first discuss the structure of the exams for the public sector to you so that you understand each aspect of the syllabus or each aspect of the exam, what exactly the examiner is going to be asking. The first thing is going to be question 1. Question 1 for 20 marks, the examiner is going to be bringing up questions in relation to these areas. That is the general purpose financial reporting. Under this, the examiner has option to look at the measurement basis. And the measurement basis, we are looking at either the historical cost, the replacement cost, the fair value, the present value. So the examiner can give us scenarios and ask students which measurement basis will be appropriate for certain items that the entity is looking to recognize or treat in their financial statement. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the accounting basis. This is where we are looking at cash-based accounting, accrual-based accounting, modified cash-based, modified accrual. The examiner can throw questions at us where we are going to be writing theoretically about these, or transactions will be presented and the examiner will ask us how it should be recognized under the cash basis, how it should be treated under the accrual basis, and we must know this. 3 is the accounting techniques, or what we call accounting approaches. Here we are dealing with issues like vote accounting, fund accounting, commitment accounting, environmental accounting. So again, the examiner could set out a theory question for us to write on these accounting techniques or accounting approaches, and it is important you understand these very well as you are going into the examination. Then the last but one is qualitative characteristics of financial statements. You know these already. We have the fundamental qualitative characteristics, which are the relevance and faithful representation. Then we have the enhancing qualitative characteristics, which include issues like timeliness, understandability, comparability, and the issue in relation to verifiability. So the examiner can bring us a question in relation to qualitative characteristics of financial statements that we have to be aware of. Then still in the question 1, the examiner could just throw in some IPSAS issues that you need to understand. You know, IPSAS is really a core area when it comes to dealing with public sector accounting and finance, especially because of the adoption of the IPSAS. So that is the first thing. Question 1, the areas that the examiner could come from. So in the question 1 in the exam, more either 2 or 3 of these things that I've listed here will be there for 20 marks. So what is your best bet? Your best bet is to understand measurement basis, and to understand accounting basis, is to understand accounting techniques, and to understand qualitative characteristics of financial statement. That is what you have to do to be able to position yourself to ultimately pass the examination. Then we go to question 2. Question 2 is going to be a 20-mark question on financial statement preparation. And so the examiner has a couple of options available in order to ask you this 20-mark question when it comes to the preparation and presentation of financial statement. Please note that yes, this is going to be a 20-mark in the exam hall, but the examiner could bring a 16-mark question on the financial statement preparation, whilst the 4-mark question will be on disclosure requirements. And that will be a written or a theory part that you have to answer in the question 2. And he has done that over and over again. But do not focus on anything, because the examiner has no obligation to set questions on anything that you feel he should set questions on. But when it comes to financial statement preparation, you must understand how to prepare financial statement for the central government, and that is on the consolidated fund. 2, metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies, or ministries, department, and agencies. That's the second category. Or other covered entities. Now, you know what a covered entity is already. These are entities whose activities are financed either in part or in whole by the government or by the central government through the consolidated fund. That is other covered entities. So you may go to the exam hall and you will see a question about a public transport company, or a public university, or a public hospital, or a public school. All these things are covered entities, and the examiner can bring questions about that. So we have the central government, we have the metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies, as well as the ministries, department, and agencies. Then we have other covered entities. My recommendation is do not try to focus on any of these 3. Make sure you understand the principles under each of them, so that when you go to the exam hall, whatever the examiner presents to you, you'll be in a better position to be able to understand it and increase your chances of passing the examination. But this is where it gets a little bit interesting, because you see, to be able to prepare the financial statement either for the central government, ministries, department, and agencies, or metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies, or other covered entities, there are a couple of key topics that you have to understand to arm yourself to be able to pass the examination. The first one is the topic called revenue management and expenditure control. This is a fundamental topic that you need to understand when it comes to dealing with public sector accounting and finance, because in the question 5, which we will get there a moment, the examiner can bring a question in relation to this topic, but then you need to understand everything. What are the sources of revenue to the central government? What are the sources of revenue to MDAs and MMDAs? What are the sources of revenue to other covered entities? You must understand these very well. Then the expenditure item, you must understand them very well. That is why the topic revenue management and expenditure control becomes a crucial topic that you need to understand to be able to increase your chances of passing the examination. But not only that, you need to have knowledge of the IPSAS as well. I told you about that a moment ago. That is International Public Sector Accounting Standards, because when it comes to the financial statement presentations, you're going to be presenting the financial statements in accordance with the accrual-based International Public Sector Accounting Standards, and these are a couple of IPSAS that you need to know about. IPSAS 17. Now, if you're in financial reporting, the IPSAS 17 is just like IAS 16, property, plant, and equipment, with a little bit spin on it to be able to be used in the public sector. IPSAS 12, that is inventory. That is the same as IAS 2. IPSAS 3, accounting policies, changes in accounting estimates and errors. That is the same as IAS 8 in financial reporting and corporate reporting. In addition to these, there is also IPSAS 9, revenue from exchange transaction, and IPSAS 23, revenue from non-exchange transaction. Yes, there are a lot of IPSAS that could be examined when it comes to the preparation of the financial statement, but these are core IPSAS that you need to understand when it comes to dealing with the preparation of the financial statement. Now, note that in accordance with IPSAS 1, there are a lot of financial statements even that the chief examiner or the examiner can ask you when it comes to the question 2 aspect. We have the statement of financial performance, statement of financial position. We have the cash flow statement that the examiner can also ask you to prepare. Then we come to question 3. Question 3 is going to be possibly partly written and calculation, but it is where we're going to have PIFA and evaluation of financial statements. Now, when it comes to evaluation of financial statements, there are 3 things. The examiner has asked these over and over again. So again, You don't have to focus on anything, but you need to understand the principles. So when it comes to the evaluation of financial statement in the public sector, there are three methods or approaches that we can use to appraise the performance of the central government or a covered entity. The first one is the common size analysis. So we can use the common size analysis to analyze the performance of the entity. 2, ratio analysis. 3, budget variance analysis. So that is one of it. This will be in the exam hall. I don't know. When you get there, you will know. But you must understand the principles underlining each of these methods used to evaluate the financial performance, the financial position of a covered entity or even of the central government. Then the second thing is going to be PIFA. PIFA is very crucial and fundamental in the public sector. So all other things being equal, 99.9% of the time, we're going to be having a question about PIFA, the 7 pillars, using the PIFA indicators to analyze performance of an entity or an organization. All these are crucial issues that the examiner would ask us. So that is question 3. Then we come to question 4. Question 4 is, one of my favorite areas, that is public-private partnership and public procurement. 10 marks each from these topics in the exam hall that you have to be mindful of. When it comes to the public-private partnership, the principles, the objectives, the limitations, the types of public-private partnership, you must know these. Again, there is no room for you to say, oh, I'm going to focus on this, because everything can be asked by the examiner. The key thing is to understand the principles, understand the topics, know what it means so you can write out your answers. And the B is, like I mentioned, public procurement, another 10-mark area, really lengthy, is one of the topics that is really detailed in addition to budgeting in the public sector. It has a lot of materials there that you need to know about, but hey, 10 marks is waiting for you in the exam hall on public procurement, and you have to definitely know about it. Then the last thing is question 5. The question 5 is where I call the no man's land area. The reason is that anything else that is left in the syllabus that the examiner couldn't put in question 1, question 2, question 3, and question 4 is going to be dumped here in question 5 for 20 marks or 15 marks, depending on how excited, again, the examiner is. Among other things, the role of Controller, Accountant General, Auditor General, Minister of Finance, Public Accounts Committee, Parliament, Principal Spending Officer, Principal Account Holder. The examiner can ask us questions in relation to these things. 2, budgeting in the public sector, another huge area, very lengthy. Detailed materials are available for this, and the examiner can bring us some questions in relation to that. Then I mentioned revenue management and expenditure control earlier under question 2. The examiner can ask specific questions here. If you know your syllabus very well, anything else that we have not mentioned from question 1 to question 4 is going to be put here in question 5 by the examiner. It is for this reason why I title it as a no man's land area, because everything else in the syllabus is going to be put here. This is the structure of your public sector accounting and finance examination. But let's get excited a little bit on what a chief examiner has said about students and how we can prevent ourselves from actually failing the exam and ultimately passing the examination. So let's see. This is December 2022 Chief Examiner's Report. So I'm going to be looking at the December 2022 Chief Examiner's Report, and that actually sets the tone for us, because a lot of the things that the Chief Examiner spoke about in this report applies to all the previous years as well, and we can glean some knowledge from the Chief Examiner's Report for December 2022 so we can know what we have to do. Now, unfortunately, this examination died. The pass rate was just 19.7%, so like 20%, and that was really a down 10 from 50% in the August 2022 examination, because public sector accounting and finance is one of the papers with arguably the highest pass rate. But what are the weaknesses of students that the chief examiner raised concern on, which we have to also talk about? And that is a couple of points here, 4 points generally, and let's look at it. 1, failure to understand the requirements of the question. That's very, very important. And again, I've seen this in our preparation of students for the examination here through our performance evaluation test, through assignments, and all of those things, students fail to understand the requirements of the question. For instance, there is a question that students are expected to write on accounting basis, then they are writing on qualitative characteristics. There is a question that students are expected to write a report, but then they don't follow the report format, the report presentation, and then present it anyhow. 2, limited coverage of the syllabus. You see, you have to understand the entire syllabus. If you remember carefully the 5 questions we discussed earlier, you realize that we walk through the entire syllabus. So you cannot just say, oh, I'm going to be strong in PIFA, I'm going to be strong in PPP, I'm going to be strong in financial statement preparation, and I'll pass the examination. No. Your chances of passing the examination is based on your ability to be able to attempt a lot of questions in the exam hall. And the only way you can attempt a lot of questions in the exam hall is if you are able to cover the entire syllabus. So you cannot cherry pick. Now, the reason why students have limited coverage of the syllabus usually is because of the fact that they wait, not study, and start learning a week to the exam, 2 weeks to the exams. If you do that, I can guarantee you, you will go and fail the examination. So to increase your chances of passing the examination, to put yourself in the position where you can pass the exams, what you have to do is to cover the entire syllabus. Everything. Like I said in question 1, like I said in question 2, question 3, question 4, question 5. Cover the entire syllabus, understand the entire syllabus. That way, you have a lot of options in the exam hall to answer so that within the 3 hours, you can really pass the examination at the end of the day. 3, poor time management. This is going to be very crucial in the exam hall. I say this always, and I tell my students this always, that it is important you know the kind of questions you even start with. I always tell them I forbid you to answer question 2 first. Why? Because question 2 is the financial statement preparation. I don't care how sharp you think you are. I don't care how smart you think you are. If you start answering the question 2 first, your chances of passing the examination is very small, like 0 point something percent. Why? Because the question 2 would demand time, calculations, a lot of arithmetic accuracy confirmation will have to be done when you're dealing with a question 2. When in the question 1 is a theory area. In the question 3, A or B, there will be a theory there. Question 4, there will be theory there. Question 5, there will be theory there. So the way you want to allocate time in the exam hall is to start with the written questions first. So answer question 1 first. Come to question 3, take the theory there. Go to question 4, PPP and public procurement. Answer that. Go to question 5, the written aspect. Answer that. So you want to take out all the written questions as fast as possible. Then you can save some time from there to come to the question 2, financial statement question, and question 3, the evaluation of financial statement question. If you start with any of these at the beginning, like I said, you are likely to fail the examination. And that is another weakness that the chief examiner raised concern on: poor time management. Then the 4th thing is poor organization of responses. This has to do with the fact that some candidates fail to communicate their ideas and understanding effectively in their response. That's the English issue. It's like, the English language is a problem. People speak something that sounds like English, and people read things that look like English and make expressions that may appear like English, but in the exam hall, we are marking the standard English. So it is important that you organize your thoughts. And these are the 4 issues that the examiner raised concern on. So if you are going for the public sector examination, remember the structure of the question that I mentioned a moment ago. Number 2, remember the weaknesses that the chief examiner has raised concern on, and that is what you must understand and what you have to look out for in positioning yourself to pass the public sector accounting and finance examination. So let me know in the comment section which of these 5 areas that you would want me to spend some time on, what topics you would want me to cover on the stream with you. Let me know in the comment section or the chat box. under this video, and make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay connected so that when we post next episodes and other videos on the channel and on the page, you will be able to get the notification. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next episode.